Good evening, welcome back. Welcome if you're here for the first time. My name's Clare, and this is the second of 4 weeks together. I'll start with the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer, the way I did last week, and then we might go straight into possibly some breathing meditation. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the highest assembly, from the virtuous merit that I collect. By practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect, by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. From the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So we call that refuge and bodhicitta. So the refuge is we turn our mind to the people that inspire us, and that's the Buddha, the people and the things that inspire us, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. So we have the Buddha, who was the teacher, who went through suffering himself and questioned, why is there so much suffering, and why am I suffering, why is everyone else suffering, and studied in the Hindu tradition, because he was Indian, and then didn't quite get the answers. He was still, he reached some nice states of meditation and a great understanding of things, but still he knew that he was suffering. Still he felt pain, and still he knew that he was going to die and have to be reborn. And of course in India it's difficult for us in the West, because in India they have had thousands of years of these traditions, and for them the thought of reincarnation is kind of ordinary, whereas we grew up in a mostly Christian system, or other systems that have God, like the Jewish and the Muslim and everything have the same belief in God, and that's ordinary. And we believe in heaven and hell, and that's kind of ordinary, and we grow up with those ideas. So for this tradition, it's reincarnation is a very key concept, and it's there are meditations where you can actually sort of make sense of reincarnation too, and the more that you contemplate it, the more it starts to become actually more to me, more real than an idea of God. It's this sort of external being controlling things, that if you meditate on the mind, and there are meditations similar to the one we did last week, where you go through your mind, and watching your mind and going through to the past, and then thinking ahead to the future. When you sort of go through your life and back to the moment of birth, or even further back to the moment of conception, it doesn't make sense that it's just come out of nowhere. It just popped into being from nothing. So nothing comes from nothing. So the idea of mind having a moment before, having a moment before, having a moment before, is a fairly logical idea. And so then when you sort of project forwards to the end, that it would just end doesn't make sense really either. That where does it go if it ends? And there's always a cause and effect. So it's actually quite a nice idea. We might look at that, might get to that meditation tonight. So the Buddha studied, and then the Hindu, I'm not quite sure where they kind of end up. I think in transcendental meditation is a Hindu practice, and they go into very deep and very powerful states, but you always come back to this grosser sort of state of mind from those states. So the Buddha sort of said, well, that's not quite good enough. I want to stay in a perfect realm. I want my mind to stay in a perfect place. And why do I have to come back to suffering? So that's when he sat under he went through lots of practices, and he had some friends that, I think there were 5 of them, that they were going off into the forest and meditating together, and perhaps doing ascetic practices and starving themselves and standing on one foot and what have you, and to get into these states of meditation. And he kind of walked away from that and went off on his own to try and further his mind. And what happened was he was fasting and near death, and was lying on the side of the road and was probably going to pass away at that moment. And a woman came along with some milk and rice and fed him the milk and rice, and it revived him. And in being revived and feeling better, because he had some sustenance in him, his mind became a bit clearer, and he actually thought the ascetic practices weren't helpful for his mind in the end, because he was suffering so much and about to die, and then with some, with feeling better, he gained some clarity. And this is part of what the middle way means. You don't need to go to the extremes of torturing yourself to reach higher states. So his thing was that you look after your body as well as your mind. And then he eventually went off and then sat down under the Bodhi tree and did completely free his mind, and reached this state of what we call nirvana, where he was then in total control of his mind. And even though he was in the world and interacting with the world, he had no more suffering, because he had complete control over his mind. And then which with it brought a great sense of bliss and happiness. So he sort of discovered that there is a way out, and there is a state of mind. And with this idea of reincarnation and the momentariness of the mind, because the mind is not permanent, like we talked last week, it doesn't exist as a material thing. It doesn't exist. It's a clear and knowing reflection of the world, and it's momentary, and each moment affects the next moment. So that he was there then in this able to control each moment of his mind, and in a state of bliss. And his friends, when he did this thing, it was like, oh wow, that's cool, I've done it, and went off walking, and didn't go around saying, I've discovered this great thing, and telling people about it. He was just sort of quite happy in this state, and knowing that you can't go around proselytising and telling people. But his friends saw him and could see that something had happened. He would have been radiating, he would have looked very sort of peaceful and radiant, and they could sense it. And then, because they'd been a bit cross with him when he wandered off, they were like, they thought it was the wrong thing to do. But he then taught them what he had learnt, and they became enlightened. Also, some people kind of know the Buddha's story, but he had left his family to do this as well. He'd been a Prince Siddhartha, and a rich, powerful family in India, and had always had this kind of really kind mind. And he married and had a child, but he'd been very protected I'm telling his story backwards now. This was the first part. So he'd been very protected by his family. His parents had many, he lived in the palace and didn't have to look at all the misery that was going on. And he went out on his own one time, and he came across a sick person, he came across an old person, and he came across a dead body. And this affected him deeply, and he wanted to know, why do people get sick? Why do people get old? And why do we have to die? And this is common for all of us. So he really wanted to see if there was some way of not having to go through all of this. And so it was said that he meditated on the 12 links the night he became enlightened, and he meditated on them backwards. So I do digress. I was talking about the refuge prayer, but I'll refer back to the 12 links in a minute. So taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. So the Dharma is the teachings of the Buddha. So we take refuge in that. You pay enormous respect to books, to writing, to anything that has Dharma on it. That's why we have all those little tables over there. So if you ever have a book, you pop it on the table, or at least on a cushion, but not on the floor, because that's the ticket to understanding all of this, is the actual teachings. And then the Sangha, or the highest assembly, is sometimes in the prayer you'll say Sangha, sometimes highest assembly, is the people may have done this, the masters throughout history who have followed the Buddha and become enlightened themselves, and there are many who've done this throughout the ages, and but also the teachers that we have here. Geshe Doga is Sangha. So you pay respect to the people who are actually translating these teachings for us, who give commentary on these teachings and make sense of them for us. So we look towards them for the wisdom of the teachings. And that's why you'll see people prostrating, and I did it before, and you'll see people doing that. And a lady asked me about that last week, so I'll talk a bit about that now. Tonight I might sort of just talk a bit about sort of different things around the meditation and practice as well. But the idea of the prostration is when you touch your head to the floor, you think of all your negativities, all your anger, jealousy, hatred, spite, pride, or anything that you can think that, all your sins pouring out of you in kind of the form of either a black liquid or black smoke into the ground and disappearing. And as you stand up, you bless your body, speech and mind from the Buddhas. So you can visualise the Buddha just sending light into you, and that's all these pure thoughts of love and compassion filling you, and it's a very nice practice. So if you ever came in on a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night, and I remember doing this when I first started coming here, I decided I'd go to one of the Geshe Doga's teachings, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden the whole room sort of started prostrating, and I'm kind of standing there. So there's no onus on you to do this. There's no obligation. At first I wasn't doing it, I don't prostrate to anybody sort of thing. And that's a very Western thing as well. We don't, we're strong, independent, have a lot of pride. But when you sort of understand the practice, it's actually a really beautiful practice for your own mind, as well as paying respect to the teacher. And the teacher will prostrate as well before he teaches. He prostrates to the Buddha and to the Dharma as well. So the teachers are often incredibly humble people. So that's the prostration, and sometimes you'll see people doing a full-length prostration as well, and that's actually it's a very nice practice. It's it's a bit like the salute to the sun, so you get a bit of exercise in as well. What else? So the most important thing is the Dharma, is the teachings itself, and that's they say that Buddhism will die out, and the way it will die out, there'll be fewer people that understand it. And as the teachers sort of disappear, they won't be able to do commentary on it to help us understand it. And then there'll still be the existence of the Dharma itself, but people won't really understand it, and it'll die out. So we need all of this to kind of work together. So in a way, we're very lucky to be living at the moment that, and you know, a lot of these lamas that have come out of Tibet, Geshe Doga is one of the people that left at the same time as the Dalai Lama, and a lot of them, you know, have passed away over the years. So there are fewer and fewer of the original lamas that came out of the monasteries in Tibet, but there are big monasteries in India that are still teaching and producing monks that are able to teach. And if anyone was here last Wednesday, we had Geshe Losang Dorje taught for the first time here, and he was one of Geshe Doga's students and ran they sort of, Geshe Doga is the head of a group of monks in India in the monastery called Sarah J Monastery, and there are thousands of monks at Sarah J, and they group into what they call houses. And Geshe Doga's house is House 5, and Geshe Lobsang was kind of the head of House 5 for a long time, and he's known Geshe-la since he was very young and studying under Geshe-la, and has now come here to spend a bit of time and is now teaching. He did the Geshe degree, which Geshe means like PhD or a Master's of Buddhist philosophy. Takes about 20 odd years, I think, to go through the degree, and there are levels of the Geshe, and the Larampa is the highest, and Geshe Doga is a Larampa. I believe Geshe Lobsang is a Larampa as well. So they're really, really special people. But it's very nice to see younger Geshe has come through and has the capacity to teach into the future. So it's kind of exciting for people to see this happening. Yeah, so that's a bit of background. So in this tradition, they sort of talk about the different types of meditation. So one is the stabilising meditation, and that's the breath, meditating on the breath and just bringing your mind inwards. And they all really promote this meditation as either standalone, or you do the breathing meditation before you do another meditation. And what it does is, hopefully, it stops the chatter. It stops this kind of the thoughts racing around and chatter, and which is one of the big reasons why I think we come here. Is, you know, we just want a bit of relief from this mental craziness, this constant sort of thing that's going on. And when you can stabilise your mind, bringing it in and having more of a sense of this clarity that is the mind, and that your thoughts are just passing through, and that you can just, if you can just keep focused in on the clarity and just stop the thoughts for a while, it's very powerful, and it gives you more clarity and peace in your mind, and then you can sort of maybe move into another meditation with a clearer state. But breathing meditation's really good because you can do it anywhere and just bring yourself inwards when you're feeling yourself disturbed or upset or just slightly unsettled. It's actually really nice to just take a moment to bring your mind inwards and allow yourself to stop, to let everything go. Another type of meditation is analytical, and we did that last week when we were looking at the emptiness meditation. You're just analysing something in a very scientific kind of way. You analyse. And I think the meditation on going back through time is an analytical meditation. And it's helping you to focus as well. You're bringing your mind into that thing that you're analysing. And again, you're letting go of all your other thoughts. And as you get distracted, you come back. Using mindfulness of the thing, the object that you're meditating on. And then introspection is part of the mind watching and realising, I was thinking about being down at the beach yesterday, and I've completely forgotten what I'm meant to be doing now, and bring your mind back. And then there's visualisations. So there's lots of different ways of visualising. You can visualise the deities. There are different meditations that relate to all of these images around here. And they are states of they are visual representations of states of mind, really, so that we can relate to them in a way and hold an image. And they are visions that people have had over the years, and they're very, very specific, that everything is in sort of, if you ever see the way that they draw these things, it's very, very drawing by numbers. They draw grids and everything is in the right place, because they are actual representations of these deities. So that when you meditate on them, when you put your mind to these images and do the meditations, it has a very positive effect on your mind. So that if you're doing it wrong, it's not going to work. So that they are very, very specific about the way they're drawing. Now that's the Buddha of compassion. Is this okay with people that I go through this sort of, something? That's Chenrezig, and in Sanskrit, in the Indian, you hear him referred to as Avalokiteshvara, so sometimes you'll hear one or the other. But the Tibetan is Chenrezig, and that's the Buddha of compassion. So his hands are holding what they call a wish-fulfilling jewel, which is the wish to become enlightened in order to benefit others. So the Buddha wanted to be free of suffering so that he could actually free others. The whole business of enlightenment is not about just nirvana, just yourself being free. And that's okay. But he took it a step further, that he wanted to be free in order that he could actually help others to do this too, show the world that everyone can be free of suffering. And apparently that takes you to an even higher state of bliss and happiness yourself. And strangely, one of the stories of one of the lamas as he was passing away, as he was dying, he was going, no, because he could sort of vision, he was having all these beautiful, beautiful visions, and it was getting better and better for him, and he's going, no, I want to help beings, I want to help beings. And the more he wanted to help other suffering beings, the better his visions became more and more blissful. And he sort of wasn't in it for himself, he was wanting to help others. But this is, you get something back from wanting others to be happy. So, and he's holding the lotus, which is, I think, renunciation, and sometimes it's bodhicitta, and the crystal rosary is the realisation. So as you go along, you have really nice moments, and these realisations encourage you to keep going. So that's so everything that they're holding, the way they're holding their hands, everything they're doing has a meaning. So that when you meditate on that image, all of those things, and it's, whether you understand them fully or not, it doesn't seem to really matter. I think that just by having the visualisation, it puts a nice imprint onto your mind. You don't necessarily have to understand. So this is Green Tara. And she has, it's a bit tricky, a bit difficult to see, it's a very busy sort of picture, but she has 1 foot forward. She's not sitting in full lotus, she has 1 foot out, ready to leap to your aid. She's compassionate action is Tara's thing. And then white Tara is for health and long life. So you'll often do your white Tara meditation for someone who's sick. You could visualise white Tara above them, filling them with light. Or for yourself, filling yourself with light. And there are mantras that go with all of these people as well. So, and then that's Medicine Buddha. Again, that's for sickness and for death, really. Medicine Buddha is a good one that we use when someone has passed away. So, and then the Buddha himself is there. There's the mantra Tayata Om Muni Muni Maha Muni E Soha, so that you would visualise the Buddha and say the mantra and fill yourself with light. So you can visualise these beings above your head and say the mantras. And it is okay to do this, but it's probably nice if someone talks you through these visualisations before you sort of do it. But I see no harm in visualising Chenrezig or Tara above your head and filling you with light. Yeah, having said that, I feel a bit mean because you don't know the mantras, so that you can't sort of really do this. But that's kind of that's what we do. And every year Geshe Doga gives the empowerment, and we have these sort of ritual sort of ceremonies where Geshe Doga will talk you through the meditation and give the empowerment to do the meditation. It makes it much more powerful if you've received the blessing. Empowerment means kind of a blessing. And it sounds like we're doing some weird, wacky cult ritual thing, but it's just it's giving you more of a blessing to be able to do these practices. So that's visualisation. But you can visualise all sorts of other things as well. There's ones where you visualise, and we might do that, generating love. And so you visualise first of all yourself, and then those that you love, then those that you don't know so well, and those that you don't like so well, but generating love for them. And that's another way of visualising. So we might do that. In fact, we can do that. We can do some breathing meditation now, and I might segue into the meditation on love. Okay, so again, just relaxing, having the spine straight so the energy can flow, and just half closing your eyes, or just letting a little bit of light in, tilting the head slightly forward, not too far forward or you fall asleep. And then if your head is raised too high, you tend to get distracted more easily. The left hand down and the thumbs touching. Just relax the arms, not too gripping yourself. Sometimes you're concentrating so hard you start to kind of tense up. So just loosening the arms, loosening the shoulders and the neck, and just bringing the mind inwards, letting go. Visualize a clear blue sky, completely clear, no clouds. And you just bring that down into yourself. And start to focus on the breath, following the in and the out movement of the breath. Try and follow it with your mind more than the sensation, because it's a mental activity. So just following with your mind the breath going in and then going out. Just being watchful and bringing your mind back when you wander. Letting your thoughts go. Don't try and force anything, just let the thoughts go, recognise them and let them go, and bring your mind back. So love is also called loving kindness, and it's wanting others to be happy. It is a natural quality of mind, but until we develop it through meditation and other practices, it remains limited, reserved for a few select individuals, usually those we are attached to. Genuine love is universal in scope, extending to everyone without exception. Although we might agree with this idea in principle, we probably find it difficult to actualize. Does love arise spontaneously for all the people in the street and the supermarket? Do we feel love for the politicians we don't like, racists, parents who abuse their children, the people who harm us, who make our lives difficult? We should begin with mindfulness, observing our reactions to the people we encounter, looking out for feelings of attraction, aversion, and indifference. As long as we continue to discriminate between those we like and those we dislike and those we do not care about, we can never even take the first step. So think that we're going to do this meditation for the benefit of yourself and others, to generate more positive, loving energy in your mind and to send it out to others, to the world. Start by imagining all living beings around you. Your mother is on your left, your father is on your right, and other relatives and friends are around and behind you. Visualize in front of you those you dislike or who have hurt you, and extending in every direction, right to the horizon, are all other beings. Feel that they are there, all in human form, sitting quietly like you. If it's difficult to visualize all beings, think of as many as you can comfortably. Stay relaxed. Don't feel crowded or tense, but imagine that the sense of harmony and peace pervades everyone. Consider how nice it would be for yourself and others if you were able to love all these beings. Contemplate that everyone wants to be happy and to avoid suffering, just as you do. They are all trying to make the best of their lives, even those who are angry and violent. Now generate a feeling of love in your heart. You can do this by thinking of someone you love and letting your natural good feelings for this person to arise. You might like to imagine your love as a warm, bright light, not physical but pure, positive energy glowing in your heart. Before you can truly love others, you need to love yourself. Loving yourself means accepting yourself as you are, with your present faults and shortcomings, and recognizing that you have the potential to free yourself from all your problems. So really wish yourself all the happiness and goodness there is. Imagine that the warm energy in your heart expands until it completely fills your body and mind. If you have a habit of being critical, judgmental, or even angry towards yourself, it will take time to change this, so you probably will not suddenly feel love for yourself. But if you say to yourself, "May I be happy, may I have what I need to feel happy, safe, loved, and satisfied," and so forth, then gradually these thoughts and feelings will grow and become genuine. It's enough for now just to sit and think this way and say these words to yourself. Now meditate on love for others. Start with your family and close friends sitting near you. Say in your mind words such as, "May you be happy. May you have what you need to feel happy, safe, loved, and satisfied. May all your thoughts be positive and all your experiences good. May you be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May your lives be long and peaceful, and may you quickly reach enlightenment." Imagine the warm, luminous energy radiating from your body, touching them and filling their bodies and minds, and bringing them to the happiness they wish for. Again, don't worry if you don't actually feel love. It's enough to say these words and think these thoughts. In time, the feeling will come. Think next of some people who you are not so close to. There could be people you work with, neighbours, fellow shoppers in the supermarket, fellow drivers on the road. Reflect that they, just like you, want to be happy and deserve to be happy. See if you can feel that the wish for them to be happy. See if you can feel the wish for them to be happy by thinking, may you be happy. May you have what you need to feel happy, safe, loved and satisfied. May all your thoughts be positive and all your experiences good. And may you be free of problems, sickness and sadness. May your lives be long and peaceful, and may you quickly reach enlightenment. Then send the radiant energy of love from your heart to them and imagine that they experience the happiness they wish for. Lastly, you turn your attention to the people in front of you, those you have difficulty with. Contemplate that they also need and deserve your love. Wish them to be free of the confusion, anger, and self-centeredness that drive them to act the way they do. Really want them to find peace of mind, happiness, and finally enlightenment. Think and try to feel sincerely, may you be happy. May you have what you need to feel happy, safe, loved and satisfied. May all your thoughts be positive and all your experiences good. May you be free of problems, sickness and sadness. And may your lives be long and peaceful, and may you quickly reach enlightenment. Imagine that the radiant energy of love flows from your heart to them, and they experience the happiness they wish for. Continue to send your positive, warm feelings out to all the other people around you. Love is an unlimited spring of good energy, so you shouldn't worry that it will run out. Completely open your heart and imagine your love flowing to every direction, reaching all beings who are lonely, sick, hungry, confused, oppressed, frustrated, frightened. Their suffering disappears and their minds become peaceful, clear and full of pure happiness. Wish them to have every good experience, from the satisfaction of ordinary needs and desires, all the way up to enlightenment. So we'll conclude by thinking that you definitely have the potential to love everyone, even those who annoy or hurt you, and those you don't even know. Generate a strong wish to work on your own anger, impatience, selfishness, and other problems that prevent you from having such love. Keeping your mind open and trying to overcome ego's prejudiced attitudes will leave much space in your heart for pure, universal love, and thus happiness for yourself and others to develop. So we dedicate the positive energy of your meditation to all beings with the wish that they find happiness and enlightenment. And then just gently bring your mind back to the room. So this, do you see how it works, that wishing others, that love is the wish for others to have happiness. Compassion is the wish for others to be free of suffering. So wishing others happiness, you're not saying, well, I hope you're happy in your bad behaviour, you know, even though you're behaving badly, I want you to be happy. You're wishing them to figure it out, that they will never be happy in their bad behaviour, and that you're generating love for them and wishing that they will learn that happiness doesn't come from bad behaviour. It only comes from good behaviour. And you wish that for yourself as well. So that, you know, we all want to be happy, but we're questioning why we're not happy. It's because we have negative things going on in our minds. So that our wish for our own happiness is that we wish ourselves to be free of these negative states that are causing us the problems. And I was thinking also through this that talking about these different meditations that we do with the visualizations, that's exactly, it's a very similar process. This is a really nice meditation because it actually does take you through where, if you don't need to get involved in these other meditations, but if you ever start to sort of find out about them and do these, that's what you're doing. You're generating the different, whether it's compassion, wishing others to be free of suffering and wishing them all happiness. And that's the same, from your heart, you're doing the same practices with these. So that's all that these are. It all looks very complicated and involved, but it's not. It's exactly what we just did is what you do when you do all of the practices. So I might open it up to some questions now, if anyone's got any comments or thoughts. Yes? Yeah. We call them malas. It's there's 108 beads on the mala, and when you're saying the mantras, you count the mantras. And sometimes there are practices where I don't want to freak people out, but you might do, you might do, and Geshe Doga doesn't do this because he's very hands off, and people do things in their own time and their own space. But you might do an empowerment, and the Lama, because there's lots of Lamas, and you can go and have teachings from different Lamas and different empowerments from different Lamas. Always check up, make sure they're not, there are some dodgy people doing things, so you have to be very careful who your teachers are, and even check, teachers here, you have to be very careful. But sometimes they'll give you a commitment, and you might do a Tara empowerment, and they'll say, we want you to do 1 round a day, 1 mala a day. So you commit to say the mantras every day. So it's a counting tool for saying the mantras, and you can get them blessed, and you keep it very precious. And but it also, at times I've used it. There's a really nice little retreat that they do up in Bendigo. There's a sister centre outside of Bendigo called the Tisha Centre, and at Christmas time they do this thing, and it's totally open to the public, and they always have new people coming in, and it's a 5-day retreat on Chenrezig, and you are doing a compassion retreat, and we say mantras. There's a moment, there's a part of it where you'll sit for, I don't know, it might be 20 minutes, half an hour, just saying mantras and visualising Chenrezig. And I don't actually count, but I do find it helps me focus. Just using the beads, just counting off with the beads, helps me somehow to stay more focused. Whereas if I'm just sitting there saying the mantras, I kind of going all over the place, but somehow it helps, yeah. So you'll see a lot of people around here with them. Yeah. I think it might even be on page 1, there's the Buddha mantra, and we do that every Wednesday. We do the breathing meditation, and then he goes straight into the Buddha mantra, and he says, concentrate on the sound of the mantra, and that's the Tayata Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Soha, and we say that 7 times. And that meditation, he says, just focus on the sound. And that's it really. It's interesting because I'll tell the other ones, you've got the Tara mantras and Chenrezig mantra, and they're not in the prayer books so much. We do a fair bit of chanting. There are prayers and things that we chant, and again, the prayers represent things. They all have meaning. It's not just blind blah 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 blah, sort of praying and pretending to be respectful. The prayers actually, sometimes they'll do a teaching on a prayer. You'll have they can teach for weeks or for a day. They can go into great depth about the meanings of all of these things. But all of it is about bringing your mind to a positive place. So whether it's saying mantras or prayers or meditating on love, it's all about bringing your mind to a positive place. So developing the habits of thinking positive, happy thoughts and love thoughts and thinking thoughts about helping others. And just by continually doing that, you are going to shift your habits of negative thinking and anger and being judgmental, incredibly judgmental. I'm speaking for myself here, but we're constantly doing it. And all of these practices stop you from doing that and take your mind to a really positive, beautiful place quite often. And so you see what I mean? We have a lifetime of habits, and if you want to go with reincarnation, we've got eons of habits of negative thinking that we're trying to shift. So it's not done overnight, and it is a slowly process. And the lamas say slowly, you can't do this quickly. And people that rush in, you meet people occasionally that rush in and they get all holy and they're doing everything, and then we kind of never see them again. And there's a moment of it's not working. I'm not enlightened yet. I haven't realised emptiness, and I've been trying really hard for 6 months or something. So they're saying this takes lifetimes of imprinting on your mind. And that comes back to the 12 links of ignorance. The first 3 links are ignorance, karmic formations, and consciousness. So through this sort of grasping at things, we act, whether it's because we want something or we don't want something. And again, it's about the people that we love and the people that we dislike. We act in certain ways, and we can be doing positive things, and that's putting imprints on your mind as well, but we're still grasping at them as having a substantial existence that they don't have. And while we're even grasping at the positive things, we're still not quite understanding how it works. And while we're grasping, we're generating karma. We do these actions and we continue to put these imprints onto our mind. So with all these lovely practices, we're trying to create these positive imprints. And as I said last week, the more positive your mind is, the more clarity you have, because you're not thinking, I've got to have this, or I hate what's going on, I hate this, or this is making me crazy, or all of this stuff that we're constantly doing is very, very disturbing to our minds. But these pure thoughts of love and compassion don't disturb the mind, they make the mind peaceful. And that's the litmus test, that's the test. If what you're doing is giving you a sense of peace and clarity, then you're kind of heading in the right direction. But we're constantly placing these imprints on our mind stream. And I read something today, it was really nice, that it's like shooting arrows straight upwards. Everything we do, every thought, every action that we do is like shooting an arrow, and they're all waiting to drop. So when the conditions ripen, the arrow drops, and we have that habit constantly to do that thing again, which I thought was kind of a nice image. You know, that everything we've ever done, said, thought is there. It doesn't go away. It's all imprints in our subconscious kind of thing on the mind. So the more you, and we'll end with a purification, because and I said that to someone last week, because it's like it's quite frightening. It's a little bit scary thinking all of these terrible things I've done in this one life are waiting for me. And you sort of think, all right, well, that's not good. So they have these nice practices, and what we just did, love, any virtuous practice, any good thought that you have is a form of purification. If you can turn your mind to these things, you are clearing, you are purifying your mind. But if you can actually focus on some of the negative stuff that you've done, with these practices, you can actually focus on those pieces of karma, those moments of imprints on your mind. You can purify them and let them go, but you have to own them. It's the same in most traditions. Have a form of confession or something, you know, and it's for a reason, because by owning your stuff, then you're facing it, and then you can clear it. You generate regret and sincerely, and then that just clears it. Otherwise, and we know from not even thinking about karma, but you know that stuff drives you, and unless you know what it is that's driving you, it will continue to drive you. You know, there are all sorts of things that have happened in our lives that, you know, kind of are affecting the way we act and do whatever. And sometimes we surprise ourselves that, you know, you could be so angry about something that's so small, and in fact it's not the small thing that just happened, it's all this other stuff that was never addressed that generates anger. And that's fairly common, yeah? I think that's something that we can all understand. So it sort of works that way, that there's all of these things back here that are driving us. And if we can sort of look at them, I think and that's modern psychology would say that by sort of really, and it's really hard, it's painful. We have to kind of look at ourselves, and it's really painful. But also very healing, I think. And so in these practices, when you sort of think of some things, you can it's beautiful purification practice, and they have lots of different sorts of purification practices too that are very helpful. So we'll go through this one. And yeah, again, it's that thing that you're just trying to generate more positiveness, and that in your day, and it feels good. And we haven't done much of this in our lives. There's not many forces in our lives that sort of teach us that this is how we can actually find some peace and happiness, and it does exist, and we can. We don't have to just keep driving on and doing everything that we think we're supposed to be doing to get happy. Okay. Yeah, look, I'll just go through the meditation rather than... There's a bit of a blur. This book actually is How to Meditate, that I use a lot for the meditations. There's a little sort of blurb, blah, 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 the way I'm talking, and then there's a meditation. So it's a nice, simple way to sort of, if you're looking for something to do at home. Okay, so just bring your mind inwards again and relaxing. So there are positive and negative aspects to our personality. On the one hand, we have love, wisdom, joy, and generosity. But on the other hand, we have anger, selfishness, laziness, and a long list of other problems. All these traits are just mental experiences, waves on the ocean of our consciousness. All have the same basic nature, the same basic clear nature. They are not static and permanent, but constantly in flux, coming and going. There are, however, two important distinctions to be made. Positive states of mind are productive, beneficial for ourselves and others, whereas negative states of mind are harmful and bring only confusion and pain. Peace of mind is achieved by cultivating what is positive and abandoning what is negative. The second point is that anger and other mental disorders arise from our misconceptions about the way things exist. While positive states of mind are realistic and arise from a right understanding, when we recognise this and develop a correct view of reality, our negativities gradually lessen and eventually disappear altogether. As our wisdom develops, our spontaneous good feelings grow, and our personality gradually transforms. At the end of this path is enlightenment, the perfection of all beneficial qualities, a state of great clarity and loving compassion. So now just focusing on the breath. So the motivation for doing this meditation is wishing to become more free from negative energy so that we can be more helpful and less harmful to others. Observing the full duration of every inhalation and exhalation. Now imagine when you inhale, all the positive energy in the universe enters your body in the form of pure, blissful, radiant white light. Visualize this blissful, white, healing light entering every part of your body, filling every cell and atom, and making you relaxed and light and blissful. Do this visualization with every inhalation. Now begin to breathe out dark smoke with every exhalation. Imagine that all your negative energy, past mistakes, distorted conceptions, and disturbing emotions leave your body with the breath in the form of dark smoke or fog. The smoke goes out into space where it disappears completely. Don't worry that you are polluting the environment. Just imagine that the smoke becomes non-existent. And feel confident that you have freed yourself of every trace of faults and negativity. Concentrate on this experience, breathing out the dark smoke of your problems and breathing in the white light of good energy. When you're distracted by thoughts or other experiences, simply observe them without reacting or getting involved. You can also transform these distractions into dark smoke and breathe them out into oblivion. So we conclude the meditation by dedicating your positive energy to all beings finding everlasting happiness and peace of mind. And bring your mind back. Okay, so are there any, a little bit over time, but if there's any questions, anyone has another question? Okay. There's tea and cake in the dining room. Thank you.